This lady, you all know her, especially after the last week. This lady has been specially chosen by President Donald Trump to be his ambassador in Great Britain. This lady has confronted more terrorists than the SAS. She's been in more mosques than your average mad mullah. This woman is trouble on hills, as I'm sure you will appreciate. She's the bravest woman in Britain. She's a true Queen Boudica reborn. So let me have a big round of applause to your feet for Deputy Leader Jayda Fransen.
Well, thank you for such a lovely welcome. Do you know what? I just love to see so many friendly faces, and you know, this is what it's all about when we all come together, and especially with the week that we've had, not just myself or Paul or Donald.
Our Donald.
Yeah, our Donald. We've all had that week. That was our week. Before I go into some of the finer points of the week, I'm going to start by just saying a few thank yous. We've had the awards ceremony and the gifts given out, so I'm not going to call anyone up. I might call the toads just to see a smile. I won't. I want to thank our lovely guests from Europe for making the journey to come over, taking the time out of their busy schedules. Thank you guys. And of course, once again, my dear friend, Councillor Jolene Bunting, and that was a brilliant talk that we all heard then. Some real different perspective that we're not really aware of that goes on just across the water in the extension of our beautiful country, you know. They're with us. They're the last line of defence, guys. Remember that. I think we're going to all be running to them pretty soon for help. And all of our speakers that are here. And to every single one of you that made the journey. Some of you came from right up in Sunderland. Some of you came from Texas, you know? Yes, you do. So thank you all for making the effort, and I hope so far you've enjoyed it, and I hope that I will see you on many other occasions. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you all for coming. So, this week, let's talk about it. I was on a conference call the day, which I don't even know which day it was. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even sure what day it is today. But it was at some point this week that I was on a conference call for the rest of the morning, and then I received a telephone call from a journalist, who's got my number, a chap that I speak to occasionally, and he asked me, how does it feel to have been retweeted by the leader of the free world? And I said, I don't know, can you tell me? And he said, have you looked at your Twitter lately? And I said, no, I've been on the phone, as you do, gassing away. He said, you might want to have a little look. And within about 30 seconds of putting the phone down to him, every phone in the vicinity started ringing constantly. And Paul and I looked at each other and looked at the screen, and we just saw Donald Trump retweet, Donald Trump retweet, and we thought, wow, this is good. This is good. We didn't know how good it was going to be, and we didn't actually have any idea of the frenzy and the hysteria that it was going to cause. So, first instinct was, the phones are blowing up, the press wants statements, interviews, TV, radio, everything. So we hired a room, a conference room and I gave countless interviews to press from all over the world who were just absolutely fascinated by the events of that morning. And it was quite surreal because I didn't at that stage know what was coming next. So they asked me, how did you feel when you saw that the President of the United States had retweeted 3 of your videos? And I said I was delighted, absolutely delighted. Not least because I am a huge fan, huge. And I was an avid campaigner during the presidential election. And I do say, I stand by this, because there are many people in this room that I can attribute this achievement to. Britain First has a colossal reach on social media. And we have a disproportionate amount of Americans that follow us. They absolutely love Britain First. I mean, they love Britain First. So Paul and I decided when we realised that Donald Trump was going to run for presidency that we were going to throw our weight behind his campaign. And our activists and the Britain First leadership basically launched a campaign here in Britain encouraging our American supporters to vote and actively campaign for Trump. So I can tell you, when we stayed up that night and watched the results come in, just like we've done with Brexit, I don't know who stayed up. Who stayed up? Show of hands. Yeah. Okay, first of all, who stayed up for Brexit? Yeah. Had to do that. And who stayed up for Trump? So pretty much the same people, right? So, okay, I remember Paul and I were sitting there and we were updating Twitter and Facebook with every result that was coming in during Brexit, and we were looking at each other and we were thinking, this could happen. Like, this could happen. Because it was really close and we didn't know which way it was going to go. Paul's an eternal optimist, so he was like, we're leaving the European Union, it's going to happen. I'm thinking, I don't want to burst this bubble because I can be a bit of a pessimist sometimes. I was thinking, I'm not sure, I hope we do. And it was like Christmas, Easter, birthdays, everything all rolled into one when we got the result that we had voted leave. And to everyone here who voted leave, give yourselves a round of applause. What an achievement. And you know, the same feeling, the same sense of achievement and pride and joy was felt when they announced that Donald Trump was the president of the United States and had beat that witch, that evil woman. And I honestly like to think that every one of you that campaigned, promoted, tweeted, Facebook, whatever you did, supporting Trump through that election period, I think everyone here makes a difference in every single set of circumstances, because you see, being inactive will get us absolutely nowhere. And sometimes we don't know how far our activities reach. Like, we don't know how far our speeches go. We put them up online. Sometimes they get 10 million views. Sometimes we walk through Bury Park with a cross and we get 30 million within 48 hours. You just don't know what's going to happen on social media. And you don't know how far your views, your opinions, your feelings, your political rants, your Christian rants, you don't know how far they're going. Who are they reaching? Who's listening? Are your family listening? Are your constituents listening? Are the public listening? Who's listening? Well, this week we realised that the most powerful man in the world, the leader of the free world, is listening. And of course, we should take great comfort in that, because that's no small thing. The fact that the President of the United States doesn't often, if ever, from my experience, and I know that Paul and Jolene are Twitter followers of Donald Trump, as I expect most people in the room are. So you can probably back me up on this. I don't think I've ever seen President Trump retweet one person 3 times in a row. That was a statement. It was a public display of support and sympathy for our plight, and it was a kick up the backside to our corrupt establishment. And bloody Nora did it work. Our establishment went into a complete meltdown. I mean, it's embarrassing what happened next. The establishment in this country have shown on a number of occasions that they are not for free speech. Now, unfortunately, unlike in the US, we don't have a constitutional right to say what we want, to say how we feel, to express our opinions and our views. We don't have that. That free speech is enshrined in the US Constitution. They can enjoy that right, and so they should. In this country, we have not only have we not got that right, but we've now been well and truly shown that any rights we thought we had, we definitely don't. And if we try and exercise them, I am a very good example of what might happen. The establishment showed their true colours after my dear friend, Councillor Jolene Bunting, arranged an anti-terror rally in Belfast, which I was very privileged to be invited to speak at. Had a brilliant day, always love visiting Northern Ireland. And there were a number of other speakers who were in the front row here who gave excellent addresses to the crowd. Now, you guys know me pretty well, most of you. I don't know who's seen this video. Has any of you seen the speech from Belfast?
Yeah.
You guys were there. Okay.
25,000.
Can we all agree that that was probably one of my tamest speeches that I've ever given, right? Tamest. Despite that, I went to sign on in Bromley, as I have to do every Saturday, and I was picked up by a Robocop from the PSNI. I was escorted whilst being guarded by 4 officers from Northern Ireland, 6 hours in a van, 8 hours on a ferry, 24 hours altogether in custody, 4 of which I faced interrogation for 4 hours. And I always give no comment interviews. In fact, I give silent interviews. So I stopped speaking for 4 hours. That in itself is a first. Believe you me, and Paul, back this up. That doesn't happen often. I'm wondering if Paul set it up. So when they actually read out the reason, the cause for my arrest, and then subsequently the charges, I could have been knocked over by a feather, because, this is genuine, I'll show you all the evidence. The charge sheet, the arrest sheet, said that I was being arrested and I was being taken to Belfast because I gave what they quoted as an anti-Islamic speech. Basically, I gave a speech in Northern Ireland warning about the dangers of Islam that we're experiencing on the mainland, and I warned them that Islam would be spreading in Northern Ireland and it would be dangerous for Northern Ireland, and that Northern Ireland was the last line of defence for Britain, and that the world is at war with Islam. I then went on to confirm that the Islamic scriptures instruct Muslims to kill non-Muslims. For that, would we say criticism? I'd call that stating facts. But if we're going to call that criticism, which is evidently what the state are doing, is that reason enough to lock someone up? I'm facing 2 years in prison for having made those statements. 2 long years. On top of the 2 years that I'm facing for exposing a Muslim grooming gang in Kent. So I'm looking at 4 years in total. For doing what? For saying these men gang raped a child. They've all been convicted. They're all serving 14 years each. They raped this kid 4 times each. This kid 4 times each before they threw her out into the road and she was found hysterical, bleeding, screaming. So I pointed out what they'd done. I went and confronted them. That's worth 2 years of my life. I then went to Northern Ireland, gave a speech, pleaded with the community of Northern Ireland, please don't let this happen here. In fact, I said, I'm not going to let this happen here. We've just launched Britain First Northern Ireland. I will be here, whether you like it or not, with you all. I pleaded with them to just keep this part of our country British, please. That's worth another 2 years of my life. So if that isn't evidence enough that the British establishment do not support free speech, they then went a step further. They actually tried to tell the President of the United States to moderate and to censor his Twitter so that it fell in line with their political views. Have you ever heard of anything as ludicrous as that? It was one of the strangest moments. And of course, one of the proudest moments was, ironically, because, you know, naturally we shouldn't be celebrating leaders of our country being attacked, albeit verbally or, you know, in cyberspace on Twitter, but being launched at by another world leader. We should be saying, oh no, don't attack the leaders of our country. When he hit back and said, listen love, you mind your own business as to what I'm doing and sort out the terrorism in your country, I thought, come on, no. See, President Donald Trump supports free speech, and he recognises the dangers that we recognise, and he's one of the only world leaders who is courageous enough to stand up and point out said dangers. Islam, Islamic immigration, mass immigration, Marxism. He's the one that will stand up and say, this is no good. American jobs for American workers. Forget all of this, you know, giving these jobs to people that have just entered our country while these men and women stand in line. Forget it, it's not happening. And I'm building a big old wall so that you lot don't just flood into our country. And everyone over here is condemning him for it. All of our stupid, corrupt, self-serving politicians over here, all condemning him. How can he build a wall? We'll just take down all walls and all barriers and we'll all just live together and we'll just love each other, and then bang! Yeah. Kids are being blown up in Manchester Arena and shit gets real. Yeah. See, Donald Trump has got his eye firmly on the ball. Donald Trump recognises the danger of mass Islamic immigration. That's why he implemented a travel ban. Theresa May, on the other hand, is bringing these people in and amongst us to live next door, to take their kids to school with our kids. And what's going on? Our kids are suffering. Our kids are getting groomed. Our kids are getting raped. Our kids are getting acid thrown in their faces. And Theresa May's got the bloody audacity to tell the man that's controlling that situation in his own country to tell him not to retweet us. Because we all agree with him, and she doesn't. She must have lost her natural mind. Because first and foremost, I think I'm pretty confident in saying, President Donald Trump is not going to take the word or the advice or the instructions of a spineless, snivelling, self-serving, corrupt politician who cheated her way into power by staying quiet through Brexit and then came out as a Remainer while she had a grip on our country. I'm glad he told her to shove it. I think she should shove it. We should all be comforted that we do. We have allies, we have friends, we have people listening. We have the most powerful man in the world listening. The most powerful man in the world probably agrees with a lot of what we say and we think on a daily basis. How comforting is that? I think it's amazing. I think it shows that we're on the right track, because let's face it, if we're going to build relations with people, we've got brilliant working and political relations with people across Europe. What better place than to be reaching out to the leader of the free world, the leader of America. So if any of you are ever thinking, as Jolene said earlier, if any of you are ever thinking, do you know what, is this worth it? Are we getting anywhere? Are we reaching anyone? Should I just, I've got kids to worry about, I've got a job to worry about, am I doing the right thing? Yes, you are. You are doing the right thing. And do you know how I know that? Because Donald Trump says so. So give it See, the British establishment don't like free speech and they don't like the truth. They don't like people who tell the truth.
It's the lies.
Yeah, they love the lies, they love the takia, they love the appeasement. Because they think that by brushing something under the carpet, they can continue taking their big pay packet, they continue claiming their expenses. And what they've got to do really is make it to the end of their career without anything catastrophic happening. And they've got themselves a nice settlement. They can probably bugger off and leave us all here anyway.
Yeah.
Right? They're not here for us. You see, when the bombs start going off on a regular basis and people's limbs are being blown off, we've already seen it. We've had to scrape children, the remains of children, off the wall in Manchester Arena. And people getting flung over bridges because they've been hit by a terrorist ploughing a vehicle into them. We've already seen this. It's already happened. Do you think when this is happening on a daily basis that these spineless jellyfish cowards are going to be anywhere to be seen? They won't. I'll tell you who we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at each other and each other alone.
Yeah.
Because it's the people right here in this room that are brave enough, no matter what their background is, no matter where they're from, no matter what responsibilities they've got, no matter what gender they are. You know, we've got ladies here on the front line saying, I'm going to do this for my country, no matter what. I'm going to do it for my kids. I'm not going to use my kids as an excuse not to do it. That's the wrong way to think. My kids are the reason to do it. And your kids are my reason to do it. Every one of you in this room is my reason to do it. And all we're doing is we're telling the truth. We're pointing out the dangers of an ideology that states we should all be killed. We should all be replaced entirely. I'm not exaggerating. It says it 104 times in the Quran that every single one of you in this room deserves to die and that you must be killed. You must be. There's a difference. Not just they're no good. Allah didn't say, well then kuffar, I don't really like them, I wish they weren't here. No. He said, kill the disbelievers wherever you find them.
Yeah.
Until there is no disbelief and everyone is for Allah. Everyone is for Allah. Paul Rimmer said it. They say it in their mosques. Every knee will bend to Allah. In this country, in my country, in your country, I don't bloody think so. My knee will never bend to Allah. And you know, there's a saying that it's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. If we don't do something now, mark my words, our kids will. Is that what we want? Is that what we dream of when we look forward to the new arrival, a new addition to the family, when you're picking names, when you're picking cots, when you're picking colours for the nursery? Do you think, oh, I can't wait for this new life to come into the world so that I can sit by whilst the country is taken over and destroyed, and when I'm gone, this wonderful new creation of mine will be picking up the pieces? Because they will, if we don't do something. And there are people in this room of all ages. And I know right now that no matter what age, no matter what capability, if it needed to be done, it would be done. If it needed to come down to us taking to the streets to defend our own and defend our children, I know the people in this room would do it. I know that you would, because that's why you're here. And we have many allies all across Europe who are exactly the same. But it isn't enough to just go about our daily lives and hold these opinions. We need to preach. I mean, I'm all up for preaching anyway. You've all seen me outside the East London Mosque with my cross, preaching the gospel to the wonderful Muslim community of East London, and being so graciously received by being spat at. But you know, do your bit, do what you can, go away, spread the word, get people involved, get more involved yourself. Don't be afraid to tell the truth, because if we allow the establishment to silence us, the game's over. It's lost. It's already done. Every single one of us has an obligation to tell the truth. And if we get persecuted for it, then, well, what did Christ say? Blessed are the persecuted. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If we are making enemies, Churchill himself said, if you have enemies, it's because you're doing something right. Okay? You all just remember that. Just remember that if anybody comes out and condemns you or calls you names, we're all used to being called names. Bloody Nora, have I been called some names in the last 3 days. I've been called names I didn't even know existed. I've learned new insults overnight. And you know what? Most of them came from my own government. I mean, talk about irresponsible. I had my own, I call her mine, she's not mine, not my president, I sound like a lefty, she's not my prime minister, she's not. She's a horrible, spineless witch. And I have no respect for her. Because she doesn't deserve any respect. She's not looking after my people.
She's a coward.
She is a coward, she's a traitor, she's hurting, she's damaging my people, she's putting my people second. After my grandfather fought for this country, after the millions of men and women that fought, bled and died for this country, this sour-faced trout has the audacity. She's got the audacity to call me names. I'm not the one selling out the whole nation. Millions of people are at risk because of this woman and her inactivity. And how irresponsible. I mean, just to name a few, we've had Theresa May, Amber Rudd, Boris Johnson, Sadiq Khan. Just to name a few who have called me everything imaginable, publicly. I have been accused of being, quote, the lady responsible for the breakdown in communication between number 10 and the White House. Seriously. I mean, really? I've been called a fascist. I've been called dangerous. I've been called a bigot. I've been called a neo-fascist. They love to chat the neo in there now and again. I've been falsely accused of having been convicted of race hate crimes, which is complete and utter nonsense. It is not factual. But see, our establishment aren't concerned with facts, and they're not concerned with what's right and wrong, and they're not concerned clearly with my safety, because being called out as the enemy of the state, as I have been this week, and being told that I'm responsible for the breakdown of the special relationship between America and Britain, simply because I uploaded 3 videos and the President of the United States decided to retweet them, seems like an overreaction to me. I don't know if you guys agree. It seems slightly hysterical. But these are the lengths that the establishment will go to. They won't stop. They won't stop. So here we have public enemy number 1, unless, of course, you agree with my politics, like Trump, in which case we've gained a huge amount of following. Thank you very much, President Trump. See, this is the problem. The establishment have gone so hysterical because a political opponent, myself, Britain First, all of us here, has voiced a different opinion, and a powerful man has said, that deserves a retweet. That's the crux of it. They will not allow this man to come and visit without a big hoo-ha and debates in Parliament and protests outside the US Embassy. All of this is going on because basically he retweeted someone who is a political opponent. So if you don't fall in line with the establishment, what will they do? They'll call you a bigot, they'll call you a neo-fascist, they'll call you the most dangerous woman in Britain. I mean, I've been called the lot. I've been called the lot. And I wear every single one of those titles like a badge of honour. If the special relationship between May and Trump has suffered somewhat, I'm sorry if they feel I'm to blame for that. I'm not sorry that there may well be a very, very special relationship forming between like-minded patriots. And let's see if the corrupt establishment, who have no regard and no respect for this powerful man, let's see if we can't replace that special relationship with Britain First and Donald Trump. Yes. I think that sounds a bit more like it. See, they can do what they like, and I promise you this, I mean this sincerely. They can come after me, they can raid my house, they can arrest me, put me in those bloody grey tracksuits. Every time I do a video these days, I'm in a grey tracksuit. I've got loads of them at home, loads of them. They can do all of that. They can make my life a misery. They can come after me, they send the police to my house. I've got journalists crawling all over my house like vermin and going and talking to the neighbours. The police, there's been a blacked out Range Rover sitting outside my house for days. I kid you not. Don't know who that is. Might be one of Trump's boys coming to pick me up. I don't know. Right? They're relying on all this pressure. They're stepping it up now. We've got injunctions. I'm not allowed into Luton. If I go into Luton, I've got 2 years in prison. If I go into a mosque, I know you're probably thinking, why was she going to a mosque? But those of you who knew us from back in the day, you know we were partial to visiting a mosque. I'm no longer allowed into mosques. Another 2 years in prison if I do. They're up in the ante now. I've got to sign on every weekend like a naughty little schoolgirl with that naughty schoolboy over there. Up in the ante even further, and now I'm looking at up to 4 years in prison for speaking my mind. Well, let me tell you this. There is no amount of persecution and prosecution that is going to shut me up. Maybe temporarily in a 4-hour investigation. And maybe if they stick me in a cell for a few years, I might not be able to get my opinions voiced. But I can promise every single one of you in this room now, there is no amount of persecution. There is no amount of prosecution. There's no amount of state pressure that can be applied to me that is going to make a blind bit of difference. I want to leave you with this one last promise. The lady's not for turning. Yeah!